Hey, so are you someone who has been thinking about writing a book for a while, but and when I mean a while, I'm talking like years, but for whatever reason, you just haven't taken the plunge? Like me, well, actually, I eventually wrote a book, but I haven't even published it yet. Well, I am so excited about today's topic because if you're just like me and most of the people on the planet, then this is the show for you because today we're going to be talking about 3 easy ways to start writing your book with Sandi Masori. And hopefully I said her name right, but we'll get into that. Well, did I say your name right?
Close
Your
enough.
last
Masori.
name? Masori?
Close enough. Masori, yeah.
Masori.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Sorry. Okay, so Sandi Masori is a self-publishing strategist who has developed her book expertise organically by first writing her own book to promote the business that she had at the time. That book led to her to make over 100 TV appearances, including the Today Show, and got her booked on stages as a speaker and ultimately brought in better clients who were excited to spend more money to work with a celebrity author. Also runs a popular YouTube channel, Sandy Balloon, where she teaches DIYers, crafters, and balloon professionals how to make balloon decorations and balloon art. Since the fall of 2013, Sandi has been invited to appear on numerous local, national, and international TV shows, including the Today Show and Hallmark's Home and Family Show. In her precious spare time that she has between juggling all her interests, Sandi likes to hang out with her family, read books, see movies, travel, and hunt for the best sushi in town. And I'm so excited to talk to you today, Sandi, because this is a topic that's dear to my heart. And so thank you for being here. And how are you doing today?
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah.
And yeah, I got to say that that's probably one of the tragedies of the pandemic is the sushi's not so great as takeout. But but I digress.
That's
Yeah,
okay.
let's talk books.
Yes, let's talk books because, like I said, I was really excited to talk to you because I have questions, and I'm sure my viewers have the same questions. I want to write a book, but I don't know the process. It seems hard to do. I don't have the time to sit down and write. So before we get into your tips, why don't you give us a little bit about your background? Like, how did you become a self-publishing strategist?
Yeah, okay. So this is a little bit of a whirlwind story, but I'll try to
Wow.
make it as brief as possible. But basically, I was a balloon artist with a problem.
Hmm.
And what I mean by that is when I told people what I did, what they imagined, I'm guessing maybe similar to what you imagine, is that I was a clown. Now, I did do birthday parties because when you're a balloon artist, when somebody offers you money, you're going to say yes. But really, I did huge corporate events. I did, giant stage backdrops. I specialized in trade shows, um, events that are not happening right now. But but it wasn't like, I wasn't marketing for the small birthday parties, and I really had this issue that I needed people to understand that, and I also needed them to see me as a professional. Right, when you say you're a balloon artist, people kind of like throw away the idea of the entrepreneur, and they put you into this like busker category, right? And so this is what I would get, like, oh, so you're like a clown. It's like, well, no, I'm a little bit more than that. I mean, for example, I was part of the team that decorated Obama's last Halloween in the White House. So, I mean, I've done some
Wow.
pretty crazy and amazing events. So I needed a way to make my clients understand that I was a serious business person, a serious artist, and not just, like a busker, right? So I was going to a lot of marketing conferences at the time. And one of them, the speaker was actually talking about podcasting. And it was just kind of a throwaway line that he talked about how he wrote his book by answering questions. And I went, oh, I could do that. I mean, I've already made those videos, right? Because, through going through these marketing circles, I had been making videos answering people's questions about my industry. So I took those videos, had them transcribed, printed them all out. Now I'm kind of an old school kind of girl. I'm a pen and paper kind of girl, right? So I actually literally printed everything out and literally cut and paste it and then wrote where the holes were. Same way that I used to do, my high school and college papers back in the 80s and 90s. So with a lot less photocopying. But anyways, so that's how I wrote my first book, which was this one right here, The Ultimate Guide to Inflating Your Trade Show Profits, How to Increase Branding, Recognition, Visibility, Customer Loyalty, and Attract More Attention with Balloons. Yes, it's a very long title and subtitle. I want it to hit some keywords in it. So, yeah. So what happened when I published this book? And we're in about 2012 right now, just to give a little bit of a timeline. So, and look, just to see how young I was. There we go. Anyway, so what happened when I made this book was I would give it to people at networking events. We have here a tourism board, right? In the hospitality industry, especially since I'm doing corporate events, that really comes under, hospitality and tourism, right? So I would go to these events and give my books out like water. Okay, 3-dimensional business card. And here's what would happen, right? So we go back to that same conversation. Oh, so what do you do, right? Because I'm not like just holding a pile of books right here. Have my book. So you get into that conversation like, oh, so what do you do? Oh, I'm a doctor, I'm a lawyer, whatever. Okay, great. Whatever it is. Oh, I'm a convention center manager. I'm like, oh, I'm Sandi. I'm a balloon artist, or I own Balloon Utopia. They'd be like, oh, so you do like birthday parties? Pull out the book. No, actually, I specialize in trade shows. And in fact, I'm the author of the best-selling book, whatever. And so now this is what happens, right? So first of all, instantly, and I do mean instantly, the way they look at you changes, okay? It goes from literally being like this, oh, you're so cute, to, oh, you're an author? This is your book, which I always find such a funny question. I just handed it to you. My name's on the spine. Obviously, it's my book, but okay. So here's what they do. They look at the cover. They'll flip through it like this, like, oh my God, there's actually words on the pages. And then they look at the ISBN, right? And then your name on the spine. And then they're like, wow, that is so cool. Now, suddenly you're in a different category altogether, okay? So after my book came out, the conversation was no longer, why are you more expensive than, Joe Schmo balloons? Now the conversation was, I want to work with you. You're the expert. And can you work with my budget?
Love that.
Totally different conversation, right? Because now I'm not discounting. I'm trying to create a package that works with the budget. And I have the freedom now that I'm looked at as the expert, that they're going to listen to my recommendations. And, it's a much easier conversation, a much better process, and a better caliber of client. Anyway, so what happened was after I wrote this book, I'm in these marketing circles, well, people started asking me to help them with their books. And so the first book that I helped somebody else with was a cancer doctor. And her book is 32 Ways to Outsmart Cancer, Dr. Nalini Shilkov. And this was back in, I guess, same sort, 2012, 2013, this general time zone, right?
Right.
So I helped her with her book, and then she passed my name to somebody else, who passed my name to somebody else. And so suddenly, this started to be my little side hobby, my little professional hobby, as I would say, that I was helping other people with their books. Everything's going along great. I mean, at the same time, I'm publishing books for myself every single year. I have 7 books to date, bestsellers. 4 of them are recipe books. 2 of them are books for me as a balloon artist speaking to my clients, my target clients. And my latest book, my most recent, is Book It, a book about writing books. Which later on, I'll tell you how you can get a free copy of it.
Oh, yes, please do.
Yeah, we'll come back to that.
Okay.
Yeah, let's keep people staying with us until the bitter end. Anyway, so what happened to make the pivot? Why I went from the books being kind of my fun professional hobby to my full-time gig was back in 2015, I got divorced. And my ex-husband and I had been working together, the whole time. And So he left the country for a few years, which left me as a single mom, full-time single mom. And so two things happened. One, I started to resent giving up my nights, weekends, and holidays. As somebody in the special events industry, that's when you work, right?
Right.
So that was the first thing that, I really resented, just not being with my kids for those times. And then the other thing was that there were ghosts on the jobs, right? I mean, we had been working together and we had a lot of repeat clients, and it was like, oh, I remember the argument last year that we had, and it just didn't feel, I wasn't as passionate about it. And so even though I was doing a great job for my clients, they were happy. I knew that I was like phoning it in. I knew that I could do better. And what I found was that when I would do category research for a client, I was getting so excited. And when the client, would get their book in their hands for the first time and they're feeling it and they're touching it, and they send me that video of, oh my God, I'm holding my baby, and oh my God, wow, look, there's my name. Like, that is the most amazing feeling. And I found that I was just getting so much more excited about that than about a $10,000 or $15,000 balloon job. Right. So in the past, when I would land one of those big jobs, it was like, oh man, okay, let's go search, search Pinterest. Let's go, let's do some research. And what started happening was that I was starting to feel like, oh God, I got to do this. And so that's when I was like, wow, I really need to, start transitioning into this other path. And I'm very lucky that they were, kind of running parallel, that it wasn't like, I'm going to stop this and do this, it was a pivot and a turn. Anyways, fast forward to, I guess about a year ago, a little over a year and a half ago, with 2020 time blends, who knows where we're at, right?
Right.
But anyways, my ex came back to San Diego, and I wanted to help him establish himself and make sure that he would be successful here, because my children need their dad in their life. So I gave him the business, and so he could run it, which, the timing was very unfortunate, the summer before 2020, so he took that over. So I'm still a little bit involved, and I still have, my newbie balloon artist that I feel responsible for, and can't just, until I find somebody to nurture them and take over, I've got like, I don't know, a lot, like 15,000 or something that I just can't, say bye, even though, I'm pivoting this other way. Back to the original, basically a year and a half ago, I made the decision to turn to the books full time. And that brings us to today.
So. Yeah. Wow. I love that journey. Yeah. And now you can help. So, you're impacting a whole bunch of people here. So I thank you.
Yes. And it's so exciting. I've helped over 200 authors directly. And I don't know how many authors I've helped indirectly. For example, things like this, speaking on Clubhouse, my media appearances, or even the free downloads of my book, that maybe that was enough for somebody to, take off and do it on their own. And here's the thing about writing a book. The statistic is that something like, and I'm going to butcher it, but it's something like 82% of people want to write a book, but fewer than 2% actually do. And when you write a book, now obviously my niche is business authority books, right? That is a book designed to set you up as the authority in your industry, not fiction books or anything like that. But when you write a book, you are literally whispering directly into the brain of your reader. You have a direct conversation with them where you can teach them and share with them anything, and they're totally receptive and open to it because they're reading your book, right? So you have this opportunity to get your message out and magnify your message in a way that no other medium can convey. And especially now with books being, so accessible, the barrier to entry is so low, it's so easy to self-publish, right? And we can carry 10,000 books on our phone if we want to with Kindle. If we don't like reading, we've got Audible to read to us. So, the market and the time is so rich. The time is now.
Ooh, I love that. Yes. Right now. So like
right now,
how do we get started? Are we picking a topic? Are we outlining? Like, what's going on here?
Right. So the first thing that you want to decide is, what do you want your book to do for you?
Oh,
right? I know everyone
okay.
says like think about your audience, but first of all, before you can even figure out
Okay.
what your audience needs, you need to decide, are you writing a business authority book, right? Is this book intended to set you up as an expert? Is this book intended to magnify a message?
Hmm.
Is this book something that you are hoping to make money on rather than through, or are you hoping to make money through the book? And let me explain that distinction. Um, I should have had this book pre-prepared to show it to you, but I'm just sorry for my weird angle here. But I just want to grab this to show you what I'm talking about.
Sure.
Okay, so the business authority book really is a book that you are hoping to make money through, not on. Right? Book sales is not your objective. If you make book sales, that's awesome. Obviously, we want to do a really strong sales push for the bestseller campaign. But ultimately, you want to give your book away because what's really important is establishing that connection and getting people into your tribe and that know, like, and trust factor, right? You're opening that conversation. Now, on the other hand, you have books where you want to make money on the book, right? Fiction books, for example, you're trying to make money on it. Recipe books. So this is, I have 4 balloon recipe books. This is one of them. The DIY balloon birthday Bible.
That looks so fun, by the way.
Where I'm teaching, yeah. So, I'm teaching step by step how to make designs. This book I make money on, right? I give them away sometimes as contests and stuff, but the purpose of this book is to be sold. So when I say that you need to know what you want your book to do for you, is you need to know, the strategy is going to be entirely different if you're spreading a message or, trying to tell your history or put your your memoir out there for posterity or something like that, or if you're trying to make money on the book.
Yeah,
right?
this is
So that's
the first time I've ever heard of this concept. So this is like gold and we're not even really into it. So I just want to recap. What do you want this book to do for you? So you want to, there's through and there's on.
Exactly.
Through is you would typically want to give it away for free. So like a lead magnet and an opt-in so they can get into your world and in your email list.
Not exactly as a lead magnet.
Okay.
More that, yes, as a lead magnet. For example, you can download a copy of my book from my website, but also in the real world, I'm giving it away. Right? I'm giving it away to introduce people to me, to establish my authority. I'm sending it to producers to get on TV. I'm sending it to event managers to be booked on stages.
Okay,
so
got it.
So it's that 3-dimensional business card and website.
Yes.
But you don't want it to be set up like a brochure, like, look how great I am. You're setting it up to, then once you determine what you want from it, now you have to think, what does my audience need from it? What do they want from it?
Perfect.
Because you do want the book to be read, right? And if you just set it up like, look how amazing I am, nobody's going to read it.
Right. But
the difference is really what your intent is. So what I mean by this, sometimes clients will say, well, how long is it going to take me to make back my investment, right? When people hire me to help them with their book. And so my answer is, if they're thinking of it purely in terms of book sales, probably a long time, right? Unless they really have a very strong marketing strategy to get that book out there, to get book sales, at a $6 or $7 royalty, it takes a while to add up, right? On the other hand, if it's a business authority book and that book is giving you a platform and elevating you, and you're using that book to get better clients, and you're using that book to establish your expertise, so that conversation, like I said, is no longer, oh, well, he's only this price, how come you're more? But I want you, can you work with my budget? It's very difficult to quantify how much money you've made because of that book. But your income goes up, your revenue goes up, right? Now, I do have to say that if you write the book, you stick it on the shelf and you don't ever show it to anybody, it doesn't work. Okay, this is not, if you build it, they will come. This is, if you build it, you push the heck out of it, then they'll come. So, but that's what I mean by that difference between, what is it that I want it to do for me? So again, going back to my example of my recipe book versus my business authority book, right? Both of them are teaching some skills, right? This one's teaching you how to put your book together, how to self-publish, and this one is teaching you step by step how to make these different balloon designs. On this one, like I said, I mean, I'm teaching a skill. I'm not trying to elevate myself. This isn't something that I would give to prospective clients. This is for people who are trying to, you know, learn it for decorating their own events or decorating for money, right?
Right.
And I have every recipe goes to a YouTube video, which we'll talk about building that kind of tripod in a moment.
Wow.
But
good.
So when I sat down to think about what does the reader need, you know, what the reader needs is different, because for this, yes, the reader needs they need an education on how to do it, but they also need to know that I can make their journey easier, right? And so this book needs to be, I mean, both of them have seeds in it to get an opt-in, but your business authority book, it's more important how you're going to seed it. Your book that you want to make money on, your for-profit book, I mean, really, it might just be that you want to seed it enough so that you can sell them the next book, that you have a waiting audience for that next book to come out. It's just different when you think about what they need and how you're writing it.
Perfect. I love it. Like, seriously, haven't heard anything like this before. So this is golden. So then what do we do next?
Okay. So next you're going to decide, you know, what is your book about? What is the message? Who is your audience? That's very important. You need to know who your audience is. And then what I generally recommend is just do a brain dump. Like, don't censor yourself. Don't freak out about it. Like, just get everything in your head onto paper or onto the computer, however works, in any order. If you're a mind mapper person, you can do it mind mappy. I just literally, I just literally like do lists and stuff, you know? And so you just do a brain dump of all your keywords, your thoughts, your fragments of thoughts. Don't censor it. Don't cross anything out. Just throw it all out there. Then after you do that, then you can go through and create a hierarchy. Like, oh, you know what, that concept right there, that might actually belong in a different book. And this one is, you know, this one over here, this one actually kind of goes along with that other one over there. Maybe I'll stack those together, right? So then you kind of start to form a little bit of an outline.
So are you saying, okay, so we're doing the brain dump. How important is it that the first book has to do with, maybe if we're an entrepreneur and we have a current business, can we do just a book just to have a book out there that maybe the topic has nothing to do with our business, or is it more important to make sure it aligns with our business?
Look, that really depends on what your goal is and what you're trying to get out there. I mean, maybe you have a message to share, a message of hope. You want to share an experience that you went through. You want to lift up other people or whatever. Absolutely. Why not? I mean, this is your book. There's no rules to what you have to write first. You know, what is more important to you? Is it more important to you to write a book about your business or industry, or is it more important to get this message out? And that's a very personal choice. There's no right or wrong here.
Awesome.
Now, in terms of it elevating you, just being an author, no matter what the topic was, is a huge credibility lift and a huge title. I mean, people really do literally look at you differently when you say you're a published author, or even better yet, a best-selling author.
So I wrote a book, but it's not in physical form. It's just in digital form. Can you talk a little bit about the difference between, I mean, how was it for you? Like, did you see yourself as an author when you had it in digital form, Kindle form, or however it was, Audible book, or was it when it was like in your hand?
So I'm old, you know, I'm 48. So I grew up on paper, and to me, it was not real. It was kind of cool when it went to bestseller on Kindle, but it wasn't real until I was physically holding it. And then it was like, oh my God, that's my name. I'm an author. Wow. I mean, I often liken it to childbirth, you know, that really the only feeling I can compare it to is holding my baby for the first time and
That's
being like,
good.
oh my God, I made this, you know?
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
So,
9 months,
yeah.
but it's when it's here, it's like, wow.
Yeah.
I'm from.
Yeah. I mean, obviously it's not exactly the same feeling, but it is very similar. It really is. Without the adoring milk drunk face of, oh my God, I just worship you. But
Yeah.
yeah. It's been a while since I had little babies. My babies are 19 and 13 now.
Oh wow. Oh wow. Okay. All right. So step 2 is, what is the book about? Who is my audience? I'm doing a brain dump, rearranging my ideas. Is there any more to it with step 2?
Yeah, so you're rearranging your ideas, and now you're creating your hierarchy, your chapters, your topics, your outline, if you will. So now at this point, if you're a writer, it's time to start writing, right? And I would take one topic a day, you know, or just task yourself with one topic a day to not freak yourself out. But if you're not a writer, if that blank page intimidates you, if you're looking at the title and going, I don't know what to do, then don't write. We all have an amazing tool in our pockets. So you can, while you're driving, but don't look at your phone, you know, just set it up to record your voice. You can while you're waiting in line. You can while you're waiting for your coffee to percolate. You can quickly record each of those. Now, if you like being on camera, record it on, well, then you're going to do it always horizontal, right? But if you like being on camera, do it on camera. Now you have a piece of content for YouTube, right? And remember I said that you know, we kind of have that tripod strategy. Well, here's what I found. So I have a pretty decent YouTube channel, about 72,000 subscribers. And what I found is that people will opt in from a YouTube video for something written, like an ebook, and they will opt in for a book to see something on video, or to get a resource list, or to get a checklist, or to, you know, to get something that couldn't be smushed into the book. Right. So it's a really great if you do record your topics. If you're a kind of person that likes being on camera, it's a great thing. Then in the book, you can even give a link to, you know, here's the original unedited video. Bonus, right? So then you can take it and you can have it transcribed. Rev.com is a great place. I think there's another one called Otter.io or something like that, which I've never tried Otter, but I use Rev.
And then there's Timmy and
yes,
others, Trent.com. Yeah.
Exactly. So then you get it transcribed. And now you don't want to just stick it into the book direct from the transcription, because the way we talk is different than the way we write, right? We stop ourselves, we start, you know, stop again, we go off in directions. So now what you want to do is edit. You want to go through and find those holes. Where did you drop the thought and you need to go back and continue it? Where did you go off on a tangent that just really has nothing to do with anything? Where did you stop yourself mid-sentence, you know? So now it's not so intimidating, right? Because when you're just editing it, I don't know, it flows better. You know, you've already got something on the page. And so now it's a matter of fixing it. Right. So that's how a lot of my clients get through that writer's block is by speaking it into existence, by performing it into existence.
Yeah, I love that, because that's what I do with my blog posts, because I just can't sit and start writing a blog post. I have to, okay, what do I want my topic to be? And then I start recording it, and then it's transcribed, and then I can fix it, which I hate too, because I go off on all these tangents. So, yeah, so you could probably even hire like an editor to clean up that transcription, couldn't you?
I wouldn't.
You wouldn't?
Yes, that would. No. Absolutely, you want to hire an editor, but not until the manuscript's done. You don't want to hire an editor to clean up the transcription, because this transcription is it's still very personal. This is where you're dropping your thoughts. And you need to look at it and go, oh, I started this thought here, but I didn't finish it.
That's good.
So an editor is not going to be able to tell you what you were thinking or what you meant to think or what you meant to say. So you're not ready for an editor at that point. Now, once you have it all compiled together, before going to a professional editor, I would go to peer editors, right? Either people that you just know and trust to actually read it, give you honest feedback, and to finish it by a deadline. And it's really important when you ask people to look at your book and to review it that you give them a deadline. Otherwise, you know, you'll be like, well, I'm stuck. They never got back to me. and ask them to be honest with you if they have the time to do it and they're really committing to do it for you. But first you go through the peer reviews to make sure that that you're saying what you mean to say, and that it's not going to be misconstrued or things like that, to catch the obvious errors. Then once you do that, then you want to go to a professional. And the reason that I recommend the peer review first is the cleaner your manuscript is when you give it to your editor, the cheaper it will be to do it. So,
right.
the more elbow grease you put in up front, the less you're pulling out of your wallet.
Right.
Now, on the other hand, if you have more money than time, and a lot of my doctor clients do fall into this category, that, they simply don't have time. And for them, what they're looking for is to put money on the easy button. So yes, in that case, once you've finished your review to make sure that the transcriptions, that you've cleaned up the transcriptions and finished your thoughts and put it all together, then maybe you do want to go straight to an editor and just know that it's probably going to cost you a few $1,000s more than if you do the advanced work.
Okay, this is great. This is great. Now, what would one do if they don't have $1,000 to give to an editor? How is that needed? Like a professional editor to read the book?
You really should. You really should. But if you don't have that money, then you're going to have to just do more rounds of peer review. So look for people that maybe you can hire, not for a lot of money, to edit it for you. For example, maybe you can find a college senior who's an English major. And maybe for them, a couple $100 is a windfall. And they love to do it, right? It adds to their resume. And for you, you may not be getting, they may not have the insight to tell you, oh, in a book, you should really do like this or like that, but they're going to catch the things that most matter. So, you don't want to skip the editing step, but there are ways to find ways to make it less expensive.
And where do you find a peer editor or a professional editor? Is that like a Google? Is there a website where they're listed?
Yeah, there are a few websites. And I just want to throw this out there. If you are like my clients and, time is of the essence, and you've got, money's not your issue, but time is, you can hire somebody like me. My team can do it all for you.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So, tell us that.
Yeah. So we'll come back to my self promo in a minute.
Okay. All right.
But let me give the resources for the DIY version first.
Okay. Yeah, definitely.
And then I'll talk to people who would rather the easy button to steal from Staples. There are a few different websites. One is Fiverr, Fiverr.com. I would not use Fiverr for editing, but for graphic design, for layout, it can be very useful. Then there is Elance, and that is mostly around writers and editors and things like that. Freelance, it's a marketplace for freelance services. Then there is Upwork, which used to be Odesk. So that's another really good marketplace for professional services. Now, really important for your editor, you want a native English speaker. Native American English, if you're in America. If you're in England, if you're in the UK or Australia, you want somebody who speaks your local version of the language. Because, for example, if you hire an editor who's in England and you're in America and you spell color C-O-L-O-R, they might correct you to C-O-L-O-U-R every time. Right? There's just certain things that colloquially might be different. So you do want to make sure that your editor, comes from the same localized language, I guess.
Yeah.
That's a really important thing. And I've seen a lot of freelancers out there that say that they can edit, that English might not be their first language. I haven't tried them. They might be amazing, but if they have huge grammatical errors in their post saying I can edit your book, it just worries me, So yeah. And then one more resource, which is more for graphics than editing, and that would be 99 Designs. And so that's also a pretty cool one. In terms of finding peer editors, that's your friends and family. That's the people you know. Who can you send a text to? Who do you know well enough to send a private message or, you know, a DM and say, hey, I just finished writing my book. I would really appreciate it if you would look it over for me and give me your honest feedback. And, you know, and here's a red pen just in case you find anything that needs work. So that's your network to get that, you know, and if you're like, well, nobody in my network is, you know, is able to do this. Okay, maybe not your immediate family. Go out a couple layers. Who do you know on social media that you could ask to do it? Especially if you're doing a business authority book, you might want to ask somebody in your industry or somebody that you know uses your industry, right? To make sure that you're actually being clear to the end user. So, for example, let's say you're in the beauty industry and you know somebody who is, you know, just an avid consumer of beauty products. That might be the person you want to tap because they might be like, oh, you know, like you keep using this word that doesn't mean anything to me. Like, what are you saying? You know? So that's where you're going to find your peer reviews. To find a college student, you can call the English department at your local university or community college. I would probably go university, not community college, because you know you want kind of a maybe not a lower undergrad. You want somebody in upper division, you know, who's already getting into those more nitty gritty, not generalized classes, right? Who's learning Chicago manual style and those kinds of things. So you can call the English department. You can call the university job board and just put up a job notice. So there's a lot of ways to find students. And, you know, as a college mom, I can tell you students are always looking for a way to make some money. So yeah. And again, the important thing is like, be really clear with those deadlines. I usually allot my editors and proofreaders 2 weeks.
Okay.
Right. You don't want to make it such a tight deadline that it's impossible for them and they have to stop living. But you also want to be really clear, like there is a deadline and I need it back by this time or else, you know, I'm just going to keep moving on and assume that, you know, that I'm not going to get input from you because otherwise that can hold up your project.
Perfect. So you get your manuscript back after the professional editing has gone through it. At that point, what do we do next?
Well, so at that point, I recommend a proofreader. Right. Okay. So now here's the difference between an editor and a proofreader. And a lot of people don't understand this difference.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah. Okay. So a proofreader is really honestly only worried about the mechanics of the book, your grammar, your syntax, your punctuation, finding homonyms that didn't get picked up in editing or whatever. Right. Things like that. So for example, in this book, as a matter of fact, and let's just talk about why you want as many rounds of editing as possible, because the eye sees what it wants to see and what it expects to see, right? So in my book, one of the chapters was not this book, it was Book It. And it went through like 7 different rounds of editing and nobody caught this until it was actually printed. And I think the question was, why?
Isn't that how it works?
Right. It might have been writing your book. It might have been this chapter right here. And I was missing an O in book. So it was writing your Bach. Well, none of the spell check programs picked it up because Bach is a word.
Oh, wow.
Right. So it's a homonym. It's a real word, but it's not the word that I wanted. Nobody else saw it because it was the title and their eye just assumed that the word was book until it was printed and in a different font. And then, you know, and then it was like jumped off the page and it was like, ah! So of course, you know, I quickly changed it and fixed it, but that's why you want more eyes on it, because your eye gets tired of it. Your eye sees what it thinks. So once you go through editing, now editing is the concept, making sure that you have the red thread throughout the whole book that ties it all together, making sure that the entire thing makes sense, making sure that you're not being too repetitive. You know, you don't necessarily need to say it in chapter 4 and chapter 8. Right. And so there's also different levels of editing. I mean, you know, from copy editing and content editing and development. I mean, there's different kinds of editing. But for the most part, let's just say that editing is concerned with the entire concept of the book, the entire red thread, and proofreading is only concerned on the line by line level, right? We're not looking at, did this paragraph go with the paragraph 3 paragraphs before? All we're looking at is, in this paragraph are the periods in the right place? Does the comma need to be here? Should that be a semicolon, right? It's much more mechanical.
Gotcha.
So you definitely then want to have a proofreader. And that too can also be peer review, right? If you're really trying to bootstrap it, the more eyeballs you get on it, the more things will be caught, right? So if you have 5 friends that you can say, okay, I've gotten it back from the editor, will you proofread it for me? And again, give a hard timeline. And now be prepared when you have 5 friends, like, then you got to go through 5 copies looking for those red marks. So, I always say that writing is 10% inspiration, 90% perspiration. Put your time in that perspiration, because it's going to make a better book. And a better book is going to do more for you.
Right. Okay. And then do we finally get it on the bookshelves? Like,
well, then you need to get it formatted.
Formatted. Gotcha.
Yes. So those same resources for the marketplace, that's also where you can find your formatters. And there's really 2 formats that are important, in my opinion.
Okay.
And that is the Kindle format and the paperback format. If you want to have a hardback, that's great. Most people don't buy hardbacks, right? But if you want it to, when you're speaking on the stage, you want to give it out to the audience, you want something that's a little bit more fancy looking or whatever, you can do the hardback too, but the Kindle and the paperback are really the important ones. So Kindle prefers actually a Word document for formatting, but simple formatting. Don't get all crazy with it, because Kindle is like a 1990s long form web page, maybe like 2000 long form web page, right? It really is just one long page. You can't do a lot of, you can't do text wrap around the picture or fancy titles or things like that.
Oh, that's good to know.
There's a lot of things you don't have control over in Kindle, because the reader has that control, right? The reader can change the font size. The reader might be reading it on a cell phone. They might be reading it on a tablet. They might be reading it on a computer. And so things will redistribute according to that. So the simpler that you can keep the formatting for Kindle, the better. For the paperback, on the other hand, you want it laid out in a graphic design program. And this is a place that you do not want to DIY it. You want to hire somebody to do, whereas you could kind of do the Kindle on your own, maybe through a lot of trial and error, like load it up, go through the preview, or, oh, something's looking weird, let me go see what I can change. The paperback, you want to have it laid out professionally so that it doesn't look homemade. I mean, you want it to have the right margins. You want it to have, the right, with your, whatever you want to have up in the headers, so you really do want to put a little bit of money into that, but you can find people again on those marketplaces, and you can negotiate, everybody charges differently. I personally always try for a flat rate. Because I don't want to pull the plug on a project because I ran out of money.
Right.
So I want to know upfront how much it's going to cost me.
This is so good.
So yeah, basically we're pretty much going through the book, going through my book Book It.
Okay.
So, but there's some great stories in Book It too that I recommend. So if I'm just going to plug my book for a second, since we're
definitely, because I definitely want to get my hands on that book, and I'm going to, in the description underneath this video, I'm going to add where people can get the book as well, because I have a feeling we want to get our hands on that book, because this is a lot. I have like a ton of notes.
So in the book, the front part of the book is basically the very similar to the conversation we're having right now. And the rest of the book is interviews with some of my authors on how they did it, their writing processes, because everybody has a little bit of a different process, where they found challenges and how they overcame them as they went through the process. So you can get it on my website, which is expertbook, singular, 4, the number 4, and the letter U.com. And you just, yes, it is an opt-in, except I'm too lazy to send you a whole bunch of spam, so don't worry about it. And so it will, just send you a link to download the PDF version of the book.
And the description is down. The link is down here where you can see it right there too.
Yes. Once you get it edited, once you get it proofread, now you need to have it formatted. Once you have it formatted, it's time to upload.
Yay!
Hey, now, here's a little tip that I'm going to tell you. So first of all, this is about the paperback now. Okay. So the paperback, first of all, don't have them send you the proof. Just look at the proof in the uploader, right? Look at the digital proof. The reason, it's instant. If they have to send it to you, you're not going to get it for like 10 days or 2 weeks. And, then if something's wrong, then, you're adding time and adding time and adding time. So just do the digital proof, but go through it carefully. Then once you have approved your proof, now what I recommend is actually ordering one copy directly from Amazon at full price. And the reason that I recommend this is, again, is timeliness, right? If you order it at your author price from the back end, it's going to take 10 days to 2 weeks to get to you. If you order it, from the front end, from Amazon, as if you were a customer, you're going to have it in 2 to 3 days, maybe a week if okay. It's like Christmas or running slow.
Let me make sure I have that straight. So you're not ordering the proof. You're just going to look at it at the digital uploader. And then I'm assuming once it's approved, you've approved it, then you go buy it and proof it that way?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, so you've already, wait. You look at it in the digital uploader. You proof it in the digital uploader, right?
Right.
If there's a problem, fix it before approving it.
Right.
Right. Okay. So now, assuming that everything looked good in the digital uploader, in the digital preview, if you want to call it, or the digital proof.
Okay.
Once you've approved that, now, yes, exactly. You want to order it directly as if you were a regular customer. Let's say you're charging $19.95. You're going to pay $19.95 for it. Mm-hmm. Don't worry, you're going to get your royalty back on it. But yes, it's going to be more expensive than your author price.
Okay, so it gets your hands on that book faster, like you said, like within 3 days, faster. Especially if you're Prime.
Exactly. And of course, they prioritize the front end customers more than the back end customers in terms of printing and sending, right?
Gotcha. Awesome.
So yeah, exactly. You want to have it back in your hand sooner, so that A, you can go through it, B, it becomes tangible and real, and C, you can catch any problems before you order 50 copies.
Nice.
And then once you've done that and everything is exactly how you want it, now you order your author copies from the back end. And how many you order is up to you, because when you're self-publishing through Amazon, for example, the price is the same if you get one copy or if you get 100 copies or if you get 1,000 copies. So you don't have to fill your garage with books. You can order them. I order them 50 at a time. When I'm going to speak somewhere, I order, however many I need for that room, and I have them sent directly from Amazon to that venue. I don't have to carry it in my suitcase. So, and then I don't want to carry it back. So I'm really motivated while I'm there to get rid of every one of them, So, yeah. And then you tell everybody, Actually, exactly. Don't wait until that point to tell everyone, bring people into your journey, right? As you're writing it, share with your social media and with your network what you're doing. Like, oh my God, I just finished my first draft. I can't believe this is really happening. Take them through every step of the way, because they will love going through it with you. Like I said, everybody wants a book, but most people don't do it. So, taking your tribe with you through that journey is very powerful.
Yeah. And so this is a lot. Like, I have a lot of notes, but this is what you help your clients do. That's step one, like all of it. So please, if somebody wants to get more help with this, ask questions or get into your I don't even know if you have a program, like, how do we get in touch with you? Please.
Okay. So you can just email me. I'll give you my direct email, or you can go through all my information, of course, is on my website, my phone number and everything. So what I do specifically, how I help clients, is my window of expertise, if you will, is anywhere from helping you get the idea out of your head and onto paper through interviews. It is not ghostwriting. And actually, I want to make a point about ghostwriting because I feel very strongly about this. I don't believe in ghostwriters, especially for an expert authority book, right? Now, having somebody interview you, having them help you pull it out of your head and and co-writing or maybe coaching you through it is one thing. But to the true kind of ghostwriting of, I'm going to give you a topic and you're going to write it and you're just going to give me a book. I don't believe in that, because if you're an expert and, you're going to go on the news and they're going to ask you what's in chapter 4, you need to know, it's your book. You need to write the book. So I don't believe in ghostwriting, but some people need more help, right? Some people are just really busy or whatever. They have too much go on. They're just intimidated by it. And so for those clients, I help you by interviewing you, pulling it out of you, getting you the transcriptions and going through those transcriptions with you. Right?
I love that.
It's a done with you process.
Love it.
So that's one kind of segment of clients that they come to me with that need. But most of my clients come and they have the manuscript, and what they need is everything from editing forward. And so I have editors on my team. I have proofreaders. I have formatters. My team can do the cover design. So basically anything from there through making it an Amazon bestseller, that's my window. Continued marketing to get you, book sales and thousands of sales, not my window. That's somebody else. Then you hire another professional who's a book marketer. I can take you right up until that bestseller. So that's what I do.
Perfect. And we're going to have Sandi's information in the description below. So please be sure to check that out. This has been awesome. Like, I learned way more than what I was expecting, but I already knew that this interview was going to be completely awesome, but you have blown me away, Sandi. Like, seriously. And I'm sure you've blown the viewers away that are watching this as well. Thank you so much.
I can't wait to read your book. I am so excited about it coming out, and I'm holding you accountable to it. That 2021, your book is going to be in your hands in a physical print format. Now, you've already done 90% of the work. If you've got the ebook and you've got the blogs, you don't have a blank page. You just need to put it together.
True. That's true. Thank you so much, Sandi, for being here. This has been so much fun. All right. So like I said before, check out the description below. Get in touch with Sandi. Let 2021 be the year that you get your book out there. Yes. And reach out to Sandi and her company if you need help with that. Thank you, everyone.
And just go forth and bookify. I can't wait to read all of your books.
Yeah. Show us your book it again.
Here we go. Book it.
Yes. That's what also we're going to get our hands on too.
All my keywords. Yeah, book it. How to write and publish your business authority book without going crazy so that you can get more speaking gigs, get media attention, attract better clients, and make more money.